Actually, my becoming politically active is through a little bit of a love story. So I became very close to this Iranian when I was living in Los Angeles in 1980, and she started giving me all these philosophy books, and I read them, and that was part of our kind of being together. We would discuss these books. So that really made me politically active because I wanted to make a difference.
I decided to wear the black armband to school in response to my emotions, to being upset about the awareness of what was going on in the war and the visual images that I was seeing in the news that I was seeing on TV.
So from the school they started going out because there were, even schools were protesting, and some people came inside the school and they throw on us some tear gas, and I started questioning why people are going out, why people are protesting, what is the reason behind it. You would see old, young, students, doctors, teachers, and they're always saying that things needs to be changed. So I think from high school I started noticing that what is it that needs to be changed, why people are going out, there must be a reason.
And she worked about 80 hours in 2 weeks, and she came back home with her first paycheck and opened it up in front of all of us. And she only got paid $14 for 80 hours worth of work. And that was another example of why I wanted to be a part of the community and do work that helped others, because of my parents' struggle.
Wiesz, mnie się wydaje, że to moje zaangażowanie to jest wynik naszej historii powojennej, bo trzeba wrócić znowu do historii Polski. Żaden życiorys jakiegokolwiek działacza demokratycznego nie jest oderwany od historii jego kraju. Dlatego mój życiorys jest związany również z losami mojej ojczyzny.
My parents before me were very active in fighting for workers' rights by forming unions. My father was a construction worker and helped form a union. I was brought up to believe that the best thing anybody could do was to work for social improvement.
Dziadka, swojego ojca i też u mnie była taka moda na słuchanie radia, miałem swoje radyjko i słuchałem bardzo regularnie Europy. Dzięki temu wiedziałem, kto to jest Aleksander Sołżenicyn, dzięki temu znałem z tych rozgłośni historię związaną z działalnością opozycyjną.
So, when I grew up, my mother was always telling me about Mandela, being in jail, fighting for us. By then, I didn't know what was all that. So one day I thought maybe one day I need to have a hand in the process of liberating our communities of South Africa in that matter.
хамгийн гол нь миний өөрийн үзэл баримтлал юм. Миний өөрийн үзэл санаа. Итгэл үнэмшил юм. Хүн ер нь өөрийн гэсэн өөртөө маш тийм том итгэл үнэмшилтэй байх хэрэгтэй. Энэ бол үнэт зүйлийн нэг бас суртахууны үнэт зүйлгээ та нар бас хичээлээр заалгацсан тийм ээ. Тэгэхээр би өөрийнхөө итгэл үнэмшилтэд үнэнч байхын тулд, өөрийнхөө үзэл бодолд үнэнч байхын тулд намайг хинч хараагүй, хинч хориглаагүй. Чи жирэмсэн байна тийшээ битээ яв даарсан.
Guess what I read when I went to seminary? You have any idea?
Tell us.
Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from the Birmingham City Jail.
Tell us about that. When you first read that.
Well, I wept for 3 weeks. And so it was, really radically transforming for me.
რაც შეეხება აღორძინებას და შევარდნაძის პარტიას შორის ამ მოქალაქეთა კავშირის შორის როგორ გადანაწილდებოდა ხმები, ალბათ არავის არ ეპარება ეჭვ იმაში, რომ არ ქონდა დიდი მნიშვნელობა, რომელს ექნებოდა, ერთზე ცუდს ექნებოდა თუ უარეს მაინც და მაინც. ანუ შედეგი რომ მოქალაქეთა კავშირი გავიდოდა იმ არჩევნებში აუცილებლად პირველ ადგილზე იყო ცალსახა და ამაში ეჭვი არავის შექონდა, უბრალოდ მთავარი იყო მართლა ამდენი გაიყვანეს თუ არა მათ პარლამენტში და მეორე ადგილი რო აღორძინება მაიღო, არც ამაში ეპარებოდა ეჭვი არავის. თუმცა გაყალბების პროცენტი იყო ძალიან დიდი და მე ეს ძალიან კარგად მახსოვს.
Also, the time that I was in a grocery store, a little white boy was riding in the grocery cart. And I looked at him and he spat in my face. And during that time, of course, you know, I've heard of lynchings, I've heard of the KKKs, I've heard of black men being killed and have gone to prison for little minor reasons. And I was afraid to do anything. But the boy started crying afterwards. And she said, "What's wrong with you?" And she looked at me and she asked, "Did that nigger put her hands on you?" So all of this, seeing at a young age, really taught me what segregation is and what it can do for an individual as well as a group. And I knew that it was something that in my heart had to change.
Ay napahirapan. Isa sa mga nakatikim na atrocities o napahirapan noon. Pero nakalabas naman siya. Pero sabihin, nung mapatunayan na wala siyang kinalaman, hindi man lang nag-apology yung mga humuli sa kanya. At walang parang kumbaga sa ano, okay lang. Nagkamali kami, walang mali. Pero yung pagpapahirap sa kanya, nagkaroon siyempre ng trauma sa tatay ko. At doon, namulat ako na ang isang diktatorya ay parang Diyos kung maturing. So mula roon, nagkaroon ako ng parang pagtingin na yung gobyernong ni Marcos noon ay hindi naangkop sa kalayaan ng mga tao.
Among the things that we had to do was to teach the history of our country, the history of the politics of our country as seen by the apartheid regime. And so I had to teach about parliament and about one man, one vote and the whole parliamentary system. And I had to teach students that while I knew that we had no rights at all in the country, so that is one of the things that really got me involved in fighting against the regime.
The way I got involved was by learning about the farm workers movement led by Cesar Chavez in high school. I think I was a freshman the first time I heard in around 1965 about the farm workers in a social science class. And it piqued my curiosity. And then I learned that in the community there were some community activists who were older. There were older folks who had been helping Cesar Chavez. And so I went and knocked at this man's door. His name is Mr. Perez. He's still alive. And I said, you know, I understand that you have been helping farm workers. What can I do to help?
Y en las universidades empezamos a discutir sobre qué era lo que estaba pasando, sobre la influencia del narcotráfico en la forma de hacer política, sobre la influencia de la violencia en la forma de hacer política. Veíamos que se estaban matando, pero que además se estaban destruyendo ciudades y que estaba pasando toda una violencia que no nos iba a dejar ningún país donde vivir o ninguna forma decente además en ese país donde estábamos viviendo. Y desde ahí empieza a surgir además esa decisión profunda de que teníamos que cambiar las cosas y que quienes tenían una voz fuerte, algo para decir, era la juventud.
Tragically, in August 1976, one of my sisters, she was out walking with her children, and 3 of her little children were killed in a violent clash between an active service unit of the Irish Republican Army and the British Army. And they were all killed, and she was dangerously ill. And at that point, myself and Betty Williams and Kieran McKeown, we started a movement called Peace People because we came out and we said, our message was one of just non-violence. We were just saying, we can't go on, violence is wrong, there's always an alternative to violence, let's use another way to begin to solve our problems.
I started to feel the pinch of apartheid. I started to be aware of what's going on. Started to understand that indeed I was a human being who should not have an ambition of being a garden boy. You can have other ambitions. Then I started there. It's then that I started to be politically aware, and it has a profound effect on my life. I look at the entire South African situation and I said it can be changed.